Bear with me, it's loading now. All righty, Madam President, we are good to go.
Okay, hello everybody. This is Sylvia England, the president of the Waukegan Public Board of Trustees. And we'll call this meeting to order at 7:32 with a roll call. Larry?
Here.
Josue?
Here.
Jeannie? Ooh, can we hear Jeannie?
Here.
Okay. Brian?
Here.
Robbie?
Here.
Tatiana? Tatiana, can you hear me?
Yes, here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Martha and Shatara. Okay, so we have a quorum and we will get started. We have public comment. So John, do you want to put that on your screen and read it for us, please?
Yes, Madam President, one moment. Let me pull it up on my computer, sorry.
Is it possible to get these public comments at a time before the meetings so we can read them along too?
He's gonna post it. Oh, yes. That's possible, isn't it? I mean, unless they come in at, after or right at 3. Well, they still could be posted. I mean, sent to us. Okay, go ahead, John.
All righty, I'm off to share my screen.
I'll write a note on that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, for public comment on behalf of Ty Rohrer, on behalf of the Waukegan Park District and the Waukegan Historical Society, I wanted to reach out and update the library trustees on our Carnegie Library initiative. On August 13th, the city of Waukegan transferred the Carnegie Library to the Waukegan Park District. This followed the positive historic structure report that we commissioned from Harbo Architects, one of the most recognized preservation architectural firms in the country. Our initiative is a joint operation of the Historical Society and Park District to expand our history and cultural offerings at the Carnegie Library. Fundraising for this project has been very successful. The Historical Society has received a $5 million grant from a charitable organization. This grant, combined with other fundraising efforts, other grants and gifts, as well as support from the Waukegan Park District Board of Commissioners, has our Waukegan Carnegie Restoration Project moving full steam ahead. We are now on a timeline to have the Waukegan Carnegie Center open in 3 years. We are currently working with Harbo Architects on the schematic and engineering design phase of the Carnegie. This necessitates our need to determine and finalize the use of the building. Of special interest to library trustees is our continued goal of recreating the children's reading room in the Carnegie. This room, which was so instrumental to Ray Bradbury's development in his love for reading and writing, is set to be developed to permanently exhibit the Waukegan Public Library's Bradbury collection. In the next few weeks, we will be working with you all to get the proper legal understandings in place. From there, our partnership will allow for Bradbury's unique collection to help tell his story along with Waukegan, the Carnegie, and the Waukegan Public Library. A dream of Bradbury's was to house part of his personal library within his childhood library, the Waukegan Carnegie. We are all now very close to fulfilling this dream. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, and I will send this to you all board members. Ty Rohrer, Manager of Cultural Arts, Waukegan Park District, and his email and telephone number.
Okay, thank you. Okay. And thank you, Ty, for that public comment, if you're listening. Moving right along, we're gonna go to the agenda. So go ahead and pull up the agenda. And we'll need a motion to accept it as printed.
A motion to approve the agenda for the Waukegan Public Library Board of Trustees meeting on October 21st, 2020.
Okay. We have a second?
Second.
Okay, Jeannie. Okay, so Larry,
Aye.
Josue,
Aye.
Jeannie,
Yes.
Brian,
Yes.
Robbie,
Aye.
Tatiana. And myself is yes. Tatiana?
Aye.
Okay, very good. And then the minutes. We'll need a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll motion to approve the minutes of the Waukegan Public Library Board of Trustees meeting on September 16th, 2020.
I'll second.
Ms. Tatiana?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, Larry?
Aye.
Josue?
Aye.
Jeannie?
Yes.
Brian?
Aye.
Robbie? Robbie?
Oh, yes.
Okay, Tatiana?
Yes.
Okay. So the minutes are accepted as written in the board packet. So moving right along, we're moving into the Finance Committee report. And Larry, could you give us a summary?
Yes, Madam Chair. Yes, we met earlier and we went over the financials for September of 2020. All appear to be in order. Anna, are you there to maybe just express some of the highlights of what you had there put together for us? Everything appeared to be in order though, from our discussion. So. Well, let's put it this way. Does anyone have any questions about the financials for September of 2020? Any of the documents that are in the packet? Any questions?
Let's see.
Okay, well, hearing none, Madam Chair, I would move to accept the financials for September 2020. All appear to be in good order.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Someone, who seconded?
Oh, that was me, Rob.
Oh, Robbie, okay. All right. So it's been moved and properly second that we accept the finances as printed. All in favor? Sylvia, yes. Larry?
Yes,
Josue?
Yes.
Jeannie?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Robbie?
Yes.
And Tatiana?
Yes.
Okay, so we're all in favor of accepting the financials as printed. Okay, so moving right along. And, okay, the disbursements. So we're at John's report. Okay, John.
Thank you, Madam President. Apologies for the
Yes.
delay. I sent an email to the library board members, and so far, I wanted to just give a brief update rather than reading it word for word, but thank you again for your support thus far throughout the pandemic. Our reopening has been going smoothly. Our numbers are increasing thanks to a newsletter that recently hit mailboxes, and great job to Karina and Jennifer and everybody who was involved in collecting and gathering the information and getting the information out. Our goal, currently we're at Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the main library for walk-in and appointment visits. And our goal is to be open 7 days a week by November 1. And we're making plans now to make that happen. And our Hingston hours have expanded, but it's not advertised that we are now moving to 10 to 3 Monday through Friday. So we're expanding our hours, and curbside has ceased at the branch location. So we're currently still doing curbside at the main branch here in downtown. Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Our new normal, of course, is not the same service that many people had come to know from their public library, but it is definitely, we're stepping up and providing those services as needed by the community. So great job to our team for making that all happen, and to their conscious and constant efforts to make sure that the patrons are served. We have a staff member on medical leave, and two have parted ways of our members of our staff have parted ways since the last board meeting. I wanted to say that the census also, in terms of our census efforts, the federal courts ruled on October 15th that the census ended, and therefore our collective efforts, I believe, in Waukegan have made an impact on our historically low reporting community. The rest of this month and early November, we'll be having budget discussions with managers at the library to talk about need for the next coming year, fiscal year 22. And I would like to still encourage board members, if you would like the opportunity, we don't have to do it live and in person. I had an opportunity to have a cup of coffee with Larry the other day. But if you wanted to sit together and have a virtual meeting where we could discuss the library, the board, and all of the wonderful things that this library has done and will continue to do in the future, I wanted to invite you cordially to sit with me for half hour or an hour and let's talk about it and talk about the library and the board. So thank you very much, and I respectfully submit my report and appreciate your time and all your efforts and support.
Thank you very much for that report, John. Any questions? Okay, thank you. Okay, so moving right along, let's go to Gail's report.
Hello all. Well, in terms of services, we are continuing to provide programming services virtually. As we move into the latter part of the year, we just finished the Hispanic Heritage Celebration in partnership with other organizations and providing our own programming all virtually, and it was a success and well attended. We're looking forward now to Black History Month and starting to develop virtual programming and looking for partners to do that. We have been seeing an increase in attendance in our virtual programming. We're continuing to offer and expand our adult education services virtually. As John said, with the census initiative ending, we are supporting voting, and we will be holding a voting event with the Waukegan Housing Authority this coming weekend in downtown Waukegan. In addition to that, we have a free flu clinic for uninsured adults that we're doing in conjunction with Walgreens that will be in Zion, but it is a countywide initiative and the library has a distinct role in that, given our role in the CARES Act funds. In addition to that, we've just been informed that we did receive a grant to do telehub or telehealth, where we as the library will be an important piece to bringing mental health services via computer to our community. Many community members lost their mental health support with COVID-19 and not being able to go to the doctor. But by partnering with other community members, we'll be able to have designated computer spots where people can go in, they can receive secure and quiet counseling along with engagement with our community health workers to help reduce barriers towards behavioral health services and increase digital literacy skills. That's it.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Excuse me, Sylvia.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Can I go back and ask John two small questions?
You know what, could you hold on to that for a minute and we'll come back to you in your comments, okay? And then you can answer. All
Okay.
right. All righty. Okay, any questions of Gail? Okay, thank you, Gail.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving on to Josue's Governance Committee report.
Thank you, Sylvia. The Governance Committee met on Wednesday, October 7th, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. And we didn't have any action items on the agenda, but we had two discussions. The first one was about the possible expansion of our homebound delivery program. Currently, we provide homebound delivery to individuals who can provide a doctor's note requiring or asking for assistance in getting them resources. The idea is to expand that to everyone in our community. And so we're looking into the possibility of that and what we would have to do as a library in terms of policy and maybe expenses related to that. So if you're interested in getting involved in that discussion, you can reach out to me and John. Also, we discussed the development of a collection loan policy. This would cover any items that the library has that could possibly be loaned out to other agencies or organizations. similar to the Ray Bradbury collection.
Okay. Anything else?
That's it. I can take any questions if anyone has any.
Any questions of the committee? Okay, well, thank you, Josue, and your committee. Moving right along to the president's report, I got a couple of things. Just want to say thank you to the staff for getting the doors open. I know it took a lot, and it's going to take a lot to get through this whole pandemic that we're in. So thank you to the Waukegan Public Library staff. And the opening, thank you, John, for, moving to the point where we're now opening it up to our community. Thank you, Gail. I saw your group back on the 26th, I think, of September. You were out there giving out masks and gloves and those types of things. So that was awesome to see. Robbie, you know what? I haven't talked to you behind the scenes, but we do have a position for you on the development committee. So if you're willing to take on that, you along with Shatara, Tatiana, are you still on that committee?
I can be on that committee. Yes.
Okay, so along with Tatiana, what we do need is we need to move forward on bringing the board together and just, going over some of the information that we need, just to be a good, solid working board. So if you'll accept that, I really, really would appreciate it. And that's, other than I greet you from Boston, Massachusetts tonight. So thank you. And I'm glad that everything is working. So moving right along to new business, the CARES Act spending. And I'm not sure who's going to, will it be you, John, or Gail talking about that?
Just real brief, I'll say something and then I'll hand it off to Gail. We are responsible for $1 million of the $239 million distributed to Lake County from the federal government in terms of CARES Act. In order to get some of the things ordered for this grant, we had to move forward rather than wait because a lot of these orders are time sensitive and very large and they can't hang on to things like masks because everybody needs them. So Gail and Sylvia and I spoke 3 weeks ago to make sure that we could go forward and make the purchases, and we need to do a what's the word, Douglas?
Ratification.
Ratification. Thank you, Mr. Attorney, sir. Ratification of this spending so that we can waive, in this case, waive board approval because all of these purchases are going to be big ticket items that we need to approve. And so Gail, if you wouldn't mind explaining a little bit about the CARES Act spending and specifically how we've brought some people onto the contractors onto staff and so forth, if you wouldn't mind, Madam Gail.
So as John indicated, the library is the fiscal agent. I am the responsible person for the grant. The grant was given to 2 community organizations that have been convened by the Lake County Health Department with the charge of helping to support mitigating the spread of COVID-19 in our communities through education and awareness and advocacy. So the $1 million that we've been granted is part of the prevention funds, and our buckets for our $1 million is prevention, which is PPE kits. We will be purchasing content to develop 80,000 PPE kits, which will be targeted in communities of color throughout Lake County. And obviously Waukegan is a predominant community just because of the demographics and geography. The grant itself is expended through the 2 groups. All strategies, et cetera, are agreed upon within the groups. I am one of the co-chairs of the groups. So decisions are made and then it comes to me, I put on a different hat as the fiscal agent to make sure all of the requests are in line with the grant, and then they are approved by me and then approved by the county, and we move forward with purchasing. We received $300,000 upfront, which, believe it or not, was very quickly spent. In terms of one check was like $161,000. We are waiting for our second disbursement, which will be another close to $300,000. In addition to PPE, there's printing of educational materials. And then we were also allowed to hire some contractors to help support the work. So there is a grant specialist. So we have a part-time grant accountant, if you will, not wanting to burden the library in terms of taking on some of the additional work that has to happen. Even though Anna does process everything, we account for it separately, so it's not confused with the other grants that I have, and it's not confused with library funds. So we're keeping it very clean in terms of looking forward to the future of an audit. There will be some additional funds that we will be entitled to. We may indeed receive an additional $1 million. We are focused on flu prevention as that relates to COVID-19. We have a proposal right now for $500,000 to be able to provide more vouchers to the community for people to get free flu shots, particularly those that are uninsured. That can happen in our library, in our community spaces, for people to get those shots. And then there's another $250,000 that's on the table. So the urgency, as John said, we have a wonderful person who's volunteered to negotiate. We've got excellent rates and values on the things that we've purchased, which primarily reusable masks, disposable masks, sanitizer was the huge ticket items that came to right around $700,000, including thermometers. So I feel really good about, we've done a great job. He's done a great job. This is what he does for his work in terms of securing the materials. But everybody doesn't ship until you pay them. So the sense of urgency of getting those checks out and getting the approvals done is what's brought us here today. So does anyone have questions?
If I may, before you ask Gail a question, I believe that the proper way to do this would not necessarily be a waiver, but a ratification, and it has to be worded as such.
I'd like to know, you gave stuff out already?
So we did have 5,000 kits that we have given out, but all those materials were really donated. So of the 80,000, we have not, because we haven't purchased everything. They will be, I'm hoping that they will be out by the end of November. And then they will okay.
I'm sorry, where did you give them out and how did people know?
So we haven't given out the 80,000 yet.
But the ones that you did give out?
The 5,000 that we did give out, we coordinated with communities of faith and other nonprofits. We also went through communities, neighborhoods, housing projects, gave them out hand to hand. We gave them out to different organizations as they were doing intake of new clients. They would also hand them out to these clients. So making sure, again, that they're getting into the hands of those that are the most vulnerable. We also partner with Park Place that serves our senior citizens here in Waukegan to make sure our seniors are being taken care of, as well as a few nonprofits that provide food and they do distribution to those that are sick and shut in or already positive with COVID-19. So if they're going to take food, they can go and take a kit and these materials to help keep people safe. We are marketing through social media and just regular marketing.
Do the kits come already made, or do you have volunteers that put them together? How do you get volunteers?
Yes. The first 5,000, it was volunteers and people that are in the groups, and we had someone that donated 5,000 individual pan pizza boxes, and we put the boxes together and then you put all the materials in them. We sat around counting masks and we made the kits. Thank goodness the Lara Foundation, who is a foundation of 2 big bakery manufacturers, they have volunteered free of charge to put together the additional 80,000. I am personally forever indebted to them. Because that little 1,250 kids that I worked on almost killed me. No, I'm just kidding, but it was a lot. So again, we're being very effective with our spending. We're not paying people. During the COVID, he hasn't been as busy. He wanted to keep his staff on, so he's utilizing his staff to put together these kits, and they do it in mass quantities. So,
One last question. Is the ratification to support what you have spent or what you're also going to need to spend before we come together for another meeting?
both, if not all 1 million.
I'm gonna say, does it have to be two? Does it need to be two or does it need to be one motion?
Douglas.
I think it can probably be done either way. I think it might make more sense to break it up into two.
Well, I'd like to make a motion to ratify the funds that were spent for the CARES Act prior to this meeting.
Okay, a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Larry?
Yes, I'll second.
Okay, so it's been motion.
Continue on. I believe that a motion to seat Martha into the meeting. She has arrived. And
Thank
I believe
you. I couldn't get in because I didn't know it was on the calendar. Thank you, Ms. England.
I'll motion to see Trustee Padilla Ramos.
I'll second.
Okay, so it's been motion and properly second that we receive Martha into our meeting tonight. I would say yes. Larry?
Yes.
Josue?
Yes.
Jeannie?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Robbie?
Yes.
Tatiana?
Yes.
And Martha, you are now properly seated in our meeting tonight. Thank you very much. So going back to the CARES Act, it was motion that we ratify the spending that has already taken place. It's been properly second, and now let's vote on ratifying the funds that have already been spent. So Larry?
Aye.
Josue?
Aye.
Jeannie?
Yes.
Brian?
Aye.
Robbie?
Aye.
Martha?
Yes.
Tatiana?
Yes.
And yes for me. So it's been motion properly second, and we are all in agreement to ratify the expenditures that have already taken place. Can I get a motion to ratify future spending for the CARES Act grant?
If I can,
Are-
it's not
Is that-
a ratification. If you're doing
I'm
it
sorry.
proactively, you're giving him spending authority.
Douglas, could you say that a little bit louder, please? Hold on a minute, Tatiana. I'm going to ask for the question after we.
I was saying that it's technically not a ratification if you're granting the authority to the executive director to make spending proactively.
So we just need a motion to give
The executive director to spend an X number of dollars under the CARES Act.
Okay, so can we get a motion?
Can we ask questions before we motion?
No, you motion and then you ask questions.
What's the amount that we're going to give
Wait a minute.
authority for?
We have to motion and then we can go into question. Could somebody make a motion?
Don't we need an amount to motion?
Yeah,
We'll come.
why would we motion to approve something without knowing what we're approving?
I'll motion to give the executive director authority to expend any amount from the CARES grant that the Waukegan Library is the financial responsible person for.
I second.
Okay, now questions, Tatiana.
Okay, just for some clarification here. So the contractor that was hired to the grant specialist, that is coming out of the CARES Act money, correct?
That is coming out, yes, of the CARES Act money, and we will have 2 program managers, which will come out of the money from the Lake County Community Foundation, which was specific to the CARES Act.
Is there a cap or time limit on this?
So the Lake County Community Foundation funds are for a year. The CARES Act funds at this point are to the end of December.
And one final question for me, which is, if we are approving this, are we only approving CARE Act's money? Or is this going to be any library purchases?
It's for the CARES Act.
Okay, exclusively. Okay.
Josue, yes.
So with this motion, the executive director has the final say in spending any of the money from the CARES Act, correct?
Well,
Any
when
of
you
the
say
money that
final
has-
say, what does that mean?
So he doesn't have to come back and ask us for
Okay.
approval for future expenses at all for this CARES grant?
Mhm.
Okay, and also I just want to make it clear that it's not the Waukegan Library providing most of the services for that's coming from the CARES grant, right? It's more of the community organizations that were
It's the two
created.
community organizations, the African American Community Partnership Group and the Association Community Latina. And again, I am the I'm not a co-facilitator. I'm the co-something of one of them. And then Dulce Ortiz is the one from the Latino Coalition who's with Mano a Mano, as
Okay,
well
and
as
so we're
Jesus.
just, and we're just acting as the fiscal agent. So that means that a lot of the expenses will be in future check details. And they'll probably be big amounts, correct?
The vast majority will be large amounts over $100,000 at a time. Again, the kits alone are $700,000. There will be smaller amounts, but we are very careful in how we identify them. So they'll be easily identifiable, just like all of our other grants are.
I want to ask them.
The other trustees a heads up because sometimes we get surprised with things in the check detail. So I don't want anyone to see $100,000 and then be wondering what it was.
I want to ask though, if, can you hear me, guys? Am I
Yes,
right?
Martha, go ahead.
Okay. I want to ask if when they're doing their activities, does it appear like as if Waukegan Public Library is sponsoring? Because then in that case, then if they are going to use those monies, then I really think that they should submit the proposals for our review before they do the activities, because what if the monies are used in a weird way and people are going to say, oh my God, Waukegan Public Library, why are they doing that?
So first and foremost, while we are the fiscal agent, I am the grant administrator. So we have checks and balances throughout the process. The activities that are in the general community are of the two groups. However, there are partnerships. We might partner with the Zion Library. We could partner with any community group. If we do, and when we partner with the Waukegan Public Library, it is within the guise of any kind of program that we would normally partner on. And we follow the same marketing rules, co-marketing rules if we're using the library's logo. So again, I want you to think of this in terms of how we would implement any other grant.
Josue, go ahead.
I think, Martha, I don't know if you understood, but this really isn't Waukegan Public Library's money. So we're not really sponsoring. We're just acting as a fiscal agent.
So it's almost like Waukegan Public Schools Foundation when they give money for a certain amount for a certain project, and we just are the flow through.
Yeah, sounds very similar.
Yes.
Okay.
One other question. Did I not hear you say that even though you make these expenses, that the Lake County Board has to also sign off on it?
Yes, because again, we have lots of checks and balances. That's because money is being released. So they're signing off on actual expenditures because we are sort of like a sub-grantor from the original grant that was received by the county, the 200+ million.
So if they don't sign off on it, then it doesn't get spent?
Right.
Okay. I wanted to.
Yes. What happens if it gets approved through us and then not through Lake County?
That's my question.
Yeah.
So we're doing it in conjunction. And again, remember, While the library is the fiscal agent, I am the grant administrator. So a part of that responsibility for me is to work with the funder, the same that I would do with any other grant. So we're working really closely and in alignment. We don't want to be audited. That's the bottom line. So we are being exclusionary, and we're being very cautious.
So forgive my directness here, but so
Absolutely.
are you speaking like in these larger amounts? Is it something that you are speaking actively with Lake County over, so there's no surprise in the end that they
Absolutely.
decide, okay.
We have each other's personal phone numbers. I'm serious. We are talking all the time, like 3 or 4 times a week. There's always things going on. Yes.
Jeannie, you have one final question?
Oh, she just answered it.
Okay, great. So it's been moved and properly second that we give the executive director the authority to sign off on Gail's expenditures for the CARES grant. So with that, Larry,
Aye.
Josue,
Aye.
Jeannie,
I don't know.
Brian,
Aye.
Robbie,
Aye.
Martha,
Aye.
Tatiana,
Abstain?
and I for me. Okay,
Can I ask
so
one more question?
it
Just one
has,
more.
excuse me, wait a minute, it has been moved properly second, and the ayes have it, and we just have one that abstained. Okay, so real quick, Jeannie. Oh, you're mute.
The executive director is the one that's signing off, or Gail is signing off? Are we signing off on Gail's purchasing under the CARES Act? What are we doing? Where did he come in at?
So rather than bringing these to the board, and waiting, because like I said at the beginning of our conversation, a lot of these are very time sensitive, and there's 80,000 gallons, I think Gail mentioned earlier today, of hand sanitizer waiting on payment so that they can release it. And so they're taking 10,000 gallons out here, 10,000 gallons out there to fulfill other orders. And we need to get these materials so that these kits can be put together. And sometimes, again, the goal is to get these paid in a timely manner so we can keep moving forward.
Okay, thank you, Jeannie, for that question. So moving right along, we need a motion to approve the proposal from Windrix White Inc. for plumbing services. Everybody get a chance to look over that? John, could you give us like just a real quick summary?
So regular repairs, this is for a backup pump in our sewer system. And so if the main pump fails, then there's no backup. We could have quite a mess on our hands. And this is, again, smaller cost, about $11,000 required, $4,000 down. But we want to make sure that this gets approved so that this infrastructure, the building, doesn't suffer.
So can we get a motion to approve? Jeannie, you're mute.
I have a question.
I make a motion that we approve the bid from Windrix and White
I'll second.
Plumbing Service.
So it's been moved and properly second that we accept the bid from Windrix Plumbing. Let me get the whole name. From Windrix White Inc. for plumbing services. So are there any questions at this point?
Yes. Do they have any other
Hold on a
bids?
minute, So Martha, go ahead.
Do they have any other bids or estimates besides them?
For smaller amounts like this, we typically don't go out to bid. The larger items, $25,000 or greater, by my experience, is where we would go out to bid. But because this is timely and we absolutely need to have it done, we don't have the time to wait for bids at this juncture.
Okay.
Smaller
Okay.
ticket item.
Jeannie?
And this is to replace an existing, not to do something new, right?
Correct. It's to replace a backup pump.
Okay, any other questions, Josue?
What's the full amount we are approving?
11,000.
$7,700.
Okay. So it's been motion properly second. All in favor, Larry,
Aye.
Josue,
Aye.
Jeannie,
Yes.
Brian,
Aye.
Robbie,
Aye.
Martha,
Aye.
Tatiana,
Aye.
and I'm saying yes also. So it has been approved. We are going to move forward with Windrix White Ink for our plumbing services. Okay, so moving on to option A for IT Connection Inc. for outside IT services. We need a motion.
I'll motion to approve option A for IT Connections, Inc. for outside IT services.
I'll second that.
Okay, and just remember that we received that information at the last meeting. So it's been motion properly second that we approve the Plan A or option A for IT Connections, Inc. for outside IT services. Any questions? Robbie, you have a question? Okay. Okay, well then
Will you
let's
state
vote.
the full amount that's gonna be spent?
John, how much is the full amount? Like-
Total per month, $2,916.67 per month.
So does Isaac's job or his role change or his responsibilities change?
No, ma'am. His responsibilities as our manager of the IT department will continue. This is just supplemental to give him assistance. IT Connection and Keith, his team were very instrumental in our transition over to Microsoft Office 365, Microsoft 365. And again, I believe that Isaac could use a hand.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else have a question? Okay, go ahead, Josue.
How long do we envision this contract to be for? Do we see long-term, several years, few years?
That's why we're doing it month to month at this juncture. This experience was one among many to realize that it's prudent to unfreeze our hiring and start discussing rather that we continue on in this path. This is the plan that we had been on with the previous IT company, and they used those 4 hours as backup, and we ended up banking a great deal of those hours because Kyle and Isaac had a majority of that under control on their own. But again, this is a month to month and a stopgap in order to give him the support he needs to be successful. And again, the goal is to eventually, by maybe year's end or before the next fiscal year begins, talk about hiring strategically positions that would best benefit the patron and the library organization.
Okay, so it's been motioned and seconded that we approve Plan A for IT Connections, Inc. for outside IT services. All in favor, Larry,
Aye.
Josue,
I have one more question, sorry. Does this have to come back for approval every month?
no.
Okay. Aye.
Jeannie,
Yes.
Brian,
Aye.
Robbie,
Aye.
Martha,
Aye.
and Tatiana,
Aye.
and I also, so it has been approved that we will utilize option A for IT Connection, Inc. for our outside IT services. Okay, we need a motion to approve the Priority 1 contract for janitorial services. Get a motion? Did everybody get a chance to read it?
I'll
Jack,
make the motion to approve Priority 1 contract for janitorial services.
Can we get a second?
I'll second.
Wait a minute, who said that?
This is Brian.
Brian, okay. Okay, so it's been motion and properly second that we approve janitorial priority 1 contract for janitorial services. Questions?
What is the full amount we are approving?
I believe their quote was $1,245 a month. Lost the number in this giant packet.
Thought it was-
It's in the pack. I
like
just
125.
ask it because for the public, it's not on the agenda.
$11.25 a month quotation, or $259.62 per visit. So it'd be weekly cleanings on Saturday early morning, or Saturday night, early Sunday. And a weekly deeper cleaning, not the, of course, doing much of the work that our current janitorial staff do, but we are short a janitorial staff member who's out on medical leave.
Okay, any other questions? Okay,
I have a question.
yes, ma'am.
Everything but the CARES Act. We're spending a lot of funds here. There is money available to do this, correct, Anna? Somebody? Anybody?
Let's
Yes,
see.
ma'am. In lieu of having staff that do perform the work, we have some flexibility in our budget to do these things. And again, this is a month to month based on whether they are fitting the bill and whether we are pleased with their service. But there is money in the budget for
Well,
contract.
I'm not talking about just the janitorial. I'm talking about the janitorial, the IT, the Windrix White. I mean, we're spending, is there money there is money there to cover these costs? It's not going to be a problem.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, so it's been motion and properly second.
I want to ask a question.
Excuse me,
So-
Martha. Hold on, Martha, hold on a minute. We're right in the middle of something.
Okay.
Go ahead and ask your question, Martha.
Okay, so my question is, through the CARES Act, there's extra expenses that are caused by COVID.
Wait a minute, hold on, Martha. That's about CARES. Hold on to CARES for a minute. Okay, let's move out of this one, and then I'll give you an opportunity to come back and ask some additional
It's
questions.
related to custodial, so
I think
how
it's
come the custodial
related.
should be paid?
Excuse me, we're right in the middle of a motion on the janitorial services. Martha, do you have a question that's related to the janitorial services?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
go.
if the janitorial funds or the amounts for the janitorial services can be paid out of CARES Act, since it is also related to deep cleaning related to the COVID.
To my knowledge, no, because in a city call today, I learned from Tina that a majority of that aren't associated with police or fire are rejected. So we have submitted and Anna can correct me if I'm wrong, we've submitted our bills to the city, and I don't know the status of those. Like, for example, our lizard needed to go to a vet for several months, and that cost us $2,500 or something to keep the lizard alive. But those are more than likely not going to be approved. And primarily, it's not for things like protective equipment or plexiglass. We can't do plexiglass for staff. It can only be plexiglass for the public. So there are a lot of details that a lot of these CARES Act requests are being rejected. But we will submit everything we possibly can to be reimbursed through the CARES Act. As far as I understand it, those funds have been expended.
Okay, thank you.
Gil, do you want to add anything to that?
Nope, John did an excellent job.
Okay, then. Okay, any other questions about the janitorial? Jeannie? No? Okay, well then it's been motioned and properly second that we we approve the priority 1 contract for janitorial services.
May I ask
All
a-
in favor, Larry?
may I ask a
Aye.
question before you get the,
I'm sorry.
I was asking just a clarification question on the motion. Because this is a 1-month lease, are you setting a time period for which you're authorizing John to enter into this contract, or is it simply just a 1-month contract that you're authorizing him for? Because the motion right now isn't clear.
So John, how much time are we talking about?
Because the contract, the way it's worded right now, and it's kind of goofy, says
1 month.
only a 1 month contract. It says nothing about a renewal term.
And we do have a larger contract with them, but I'd like to get this 1 month approved and then next month approve an additional month, because right now, basically, this is retroactive. They started about a week ago coming into the library on Friday evenings.
Got it. Sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Douglas. So this would be a 1 month contract with the priority one janitorial services. Okay, so all in favor? Larry said yes. You still say yes, Larry?
Yes, yes. Mhm.
Okay, Josue,
Aye.
Jeannie,
Yes.
Brian,
Aye.
Robbie,
I,
Martha,
Aye.
Tatiana,
Aye.
and I for me, so the motion is carried. Okay, thank you. The next thing on the agenda is a proposal of COLA for Waukegan Public Library staff. Can I get a motion?
motion.
Could we get an
Oh,
Is
explanation?
this a motion or a proposal?
A proposal. So John, do you have information for us at this meeting? And then we can think about it and come back to the next meeting?
The last fiscal year, we budgeted for a 2% cost of living increase for all staff at the Waukegan Public Library. And due to COVID-19 and pandemic positioning, we don't know what our fiscal year looks like next year. We held off at the beginning of this fiscal year. So rather than bringing it to you, the board, in April, as I should have, we held off. And because it's been about 6 months in and it doesn't look like there's any end in sight for COVID-19, or additionally, expenses continue to rise and our staff have still, of course, expenses, the cost of bread, cost of gasoline, inflation continues. I read in the Chicago Tribune today that the federal government passed a 1.13% increase for Social Security recipients. So again, this is what we have done for the past 2 years in an attempt to try and give people in a fair way, straight across the board rather than merit-based. This is what we've done for the past 2 years. So instead of doing a 2%, because for the first 6 months, I'm proposing a 4% for the remainder, which is a total 2% for the whole fiscal year. It's just basically playing catch up for the first 6 months that we didn't give the increases.
So are you saying that this would go back and pay everybody that was still working at the library in July?
No, ma'am. The proposition, again, the suggestion would be that for the last 6 months of the fiscal year, we make up for the first 6 months. So basically it's a 2% cost of living increase for everyone, but paid over the next 6 months rather than the whole year.
So until our fiscal year ends in April?
April 30th. And then by the April meeting, I would again bring to the board, and hopefully as part of these budget discussions, we can have over the next month, another 2% increase each year. That's a fair way to give increases and continue to keep salaries from stagnating.
Okay, so board, do you want to vote on it or do you want to think about it and bring it back to the next meeting? Go ahead, Jeannie.
God, I know I told you I understood, but I'm listening and I'm just thinking. This 2% was built into this year's budget already, correct?
Yes,
They
ma'am.
did not get it from whatever to now. So had we not been in a pandemic, they would have gotten this money.
It would have been proposed in the April meeting for approval starting May 1. And so the proposition
Okay,
again would
so the April meeting, we would have put together a budget. Am I correct?
be, and the budget is approved, I believe, in February by the whole
Okay,
board.
but it has the budget? We don't have a budget then, correct?
So the budget was approved in June or July? It was June or
And
July?
it was ratified to the beginning of the fiscal year, May 1.
In June or July, right?
Yes.
And Jeannie?
May
So
I
we
ask a
should-
question?
Go ahead, Josue.
I'll let Martha go.
Okay, so right now, you know what came out of the paper, Chicago Tribune, regarding that City of Waukegan is going to cut their spending with a potential 3 to 4 million deficit facing the city of Waukegan. And isn't that the main source of our monies?
We are a municipal taxation unit. They levy taxes on our behalf and distribute the funds to us. So yes.
Okay, right. So I would propose based on that, and since they didn't work a couple months there too, that we would wait on what is going to transpire with the city of Waukegan before we were to do this, because then we wouldn't be able to go back on our decision. And we really don't know what's coming our way. And that's what I'm worried about. And also with all these people not paying their mortgages, which means that the county is going to get a lot less taxes coming in since the banks aren't going to have the money from it. Well, whatever. So that's another thing that we need to look at, is that our base or our source of income, and also we're not getting any fines. I think that that is dramatically going to affect the amount of monies coming into the library. And that's what I would want to table it for that reason.
We'll go to Josue and then to Robbie.
I don't want to speak anymore.
Okay, Robbie? Oh, you're muted.
Okay, I found it. Sorry. Press the button on my headphones. I just want to clarify with what was just said. If this was already approved for the budget for this whole rest of this year, we already still have that money. So what would happen in the future for the next fiscal year is what we create next February when we create that budget. So I'm just trying to clarify. That would not, this whole thing with the Waukegan and the deficit of $3 million, that would not affect anything for this fiscal year, the next 6 months that we are paying these employees. So, okay.
So the 2% is already built in.
And I'm going to share, I had already talked, I sent John an email earlier and I spoke with Josue as well about this. I was proposing for consideration that we keep it at 2%, but we have it a retroactive to the beginning of the fiscal year. So essentially it's 2%, but they get a lump sum paid to them for those months earlier. The only thing I have concerns with is if we are doing 4% now and it comes back next year, the amount's going to be a 4% from this year, not the 2%.
Josue, go ahead.
My question associated to that is, if there's any retroactive pay, do we have to pay staff who are no longer employed but did work in the past 6 months?
If that's okay, so initially the concept of retroactive pay is incredibly labor intensive for the 60 some odd employees that we have. Susan and Anna would have to do hours and hours of work to calculate what everyone would be owed. It can be done that way. And if it's the preference and the will of the board, we certainly shall do so. But again, my proposition was to save the calculations, and again, for the next 6 months, paying out at 4%, which really over the full fiscal year is only a 2% increase. It's not an actual 4% increase on their overall salaries. It's 2% because it's 4% for 6 months instead of 2% for 12.
But when you do that math out, like say that we project, as you'd said earlier, like it's not abnormal to do a 2% pay increase. So when you put all those figures out, it does have an impact in several years down the road. When you do it is in a 6-month lump as opposed to a 12-month lump. So you don't see any, you're correct, you don't see any difference in the calculations between next year and this year, but forecasting out 2, 3, 4, 5 years, there is a significant amount of money when you're talking about 60 odd employees. So that's where I'm coming from.
Understood.
So thank you, John, for the proposal. And we've all voiced our opinions on the raise, the CARES, the COLA, I'm sorry, the COLA raise. I don't know about everybody else, but I really would like to think about it and really, go through, let Anna put together some figures for us and take a look at what that's going to look like. And I kind of like what Martha said. I mean, if the city is going to start pulling back some dollars, that means that there's some money that we have not received yet. Am I correct, Anna? Hold on, give Anna an opportunity to answer that. Anna? There's some money that we have not yet received from the city yet. So let's start. Jose, go ahead while we wait on Anna.
My only concern in waiting another month until we meet is that if we do wait until November, then whatever decision we make, we will probably have to retro pay, right? Because we want to start this in November for the next 6 months until the end of the fiscal year. And so I think we should decide tonight whether we're going to go with a 2%, 4%, or no increase, just so that we can save all the hassle of doing the retroactive pay.
Can I ask again? I know
Hold
we're
on a minute, Tatiana. Go ahead, Robbie.
I'll let Tatiana go first. I'll go after her.
Go ahead, Tatiana.
I'm just wondering if, because of all this uncertainty and the time-sensitive nature of this, is there a way to do bonuses using those funds immediately? I know, I just am curious, doing something like that in the interim so the employees do get recognition and an increase in a way, and then revisit the 2% later on for the next fiscal year, or whatever percentage that may be. Because if we have funds right now that are available, can we disperse those funds immediately and then wait on this discussion for another time?
Excuse me, I believe Anna is unmuted, so I would like to defer that question to Anna.
However we disperse the funds, that's up to you. But to answer Sylvia's question, yes, we receive our property tax proportionally from the city. So let's say in good times we get 100%, and that's what they will levy. But if people cannot pay that, then we do not get the 100%. So yes, it's very possible that our revenue will not be the same, because we are based on the residents of Waukegan with property tax funded. But we did budget the 2% for this fiscal year.
And Anna, I know we spoke earlier in the week, but you said something along the lines of 70 some odd % of our tax distribution has been made, and we expect a final distribution at the middle of November.
Right, because we all pay tax, so we have one more installment, correct? We have one more installment to pay, so we have one more payment to collect. And sometimes people do pay in late, and sometimes there's refund. No, but Waukegan doesn't do that to us. So sometimes they trickle in, but we only have one more payment.
I would like to interject that also, because people don't have that stimulus check. People may be skipping that last payment just because they don't have money anymore to make that payment.
Can I add my 2 cents to this?
Go ahead, Brian.
So I kind of want to echo what others have said in terms of this has already been budgeted. And so for me, like the staff that, let's say in March, right, they have 2 months before this 2% increase would have happened. I'm sure a lot of that staff is expecting that 2%, because even if it's like $30, $40 a paycheck, that helps them, right? Every month, getting that paycheck. And so this is something that has been held from them since May. And again, because it's been budgeted, it only makes sense for me, or for us, to say that they should have that. I understand what Martha was saying, that with that newspaper article about the city and the deficit, but we have to consider what the budget we have right now is and how we can help the staff at the public library.
Okay, Robbie.
I just want to, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Robbie.
I just wanted to say that I think it would be irresponsible for us to wait a month since we've already waited this long to reward the staff that we have and to give them what they need to survive. So I think we should make a decision tonight.
Jeannie?
So Madam Chair, may I say something?
Wait a minute,
I
Jeannie?
just got a question. We budgeted the 2% based on what the city was going to give us.
Correct.
So if the city is not getting their taxes from the people, does that mean that when they don't get them, they don't give us our money, even though that money has been allotted to us?
Anna, could you answer that, please?
Yes. We
So if
get
they
our
don't-
money.
If they were supposed to
Proportionally.
give us, if they were supposed to give us $10, they didn't get the money they were supposed to get from the people of the city. And they're only going to give us 6 because they didn't get the money that they thought they were going to get. I'm just making it small so I can understand, okay?
Right.
That's what you're telling me, correct?
We get, okay,
If they
let's
told
say,
us they were going to give us 10 for this year, aren't they going to give us the 10? And that decrease for that she's talking about, wouldn't that be for next year?
okay, let's say the city, we see $100, right? And our revenue, our tax dollar is $10 out of that $100. But instead of receiving $100, let's say they receive only $80, then we will only get $8.
Okay, so I think there's trouble in understanding. I think people are not understanding that because something's been budgeted for, it may not actually mean the money is there. So whether or not we budgeted for it and we in the city provides those funds, that's what the discussion is here. So yes, we're promised those funds, we budgeted on those funds, but we do not have 100% assurance that we're getting those funds. So it may be irresponsible for us to start spending this way.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I think that we should go, if maybe you want to give a percentage, just give 1% for right now, based on the financial instability that we don't know that may be occurring in the future. So we're going to explain to our employees that based on, the present situation, that we will be giving them 1%. At least.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, going back to what I was trying to communicate, is that I hear it and I understand, and we do want to do right by our employees, and whatever little bit helps them is important, but we may not be able to give that full amount or commit to a certain percentage. So using the money that we already have, not what's coming out of the next tax payment, we should consider using that and giving that money, if that makes sense.
Josue, go ahead.
I think the city did something similar where their raises were supposed to go into effect in May, but it came to the table around August, and it was over 2% raise for their staff. So I don't see why our staff wouldn't deserve a raise as well.
And may I add on? May I say something?
Go ahead, Larry.
So I read the Tribune News Sun or Chicago Tribune News Sun article today too, and it said there where the mayor and the mayor is not, as I understood the article to read, is not proposing anyone's salary. That the article said that in terms of softening the potential problems that the pandemic is causing, merging costs with the city would be like merging costs for supplies, for pens, papers, machine repairs, that kind of thing. But the article specifically said that there's no envisioned cut of salaries or anything at this point right now. And so this money has been budgeted for our staff. You know, a library can't work without staff. And they've been doing a good job. You know, they've been hanging in there and doing a lot of work and good things during this period of hardship. And this is a standard 2% we give them every year, as I understand. So I think we should decide it tonight. I don't think we should wait, and I think they should get it.
I'm good. We just need a motion. Would someone like to make a motion?
Make the motion.
That was Robbie?
That's me. Yeah, Rob.
Well, what is the motion? I don't.
Oh, sorry. The 4% raise that covers the rest of the fiscal year for the staff. 4% cost of living adjustment. Thank you, Josue.
Okay, we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Larry. Okay, any other discussion, questions? Jeannie?
I'd just like to say, had everything went like it was supposed to and they got their raise in March and then the pandemic hit, we would be having to pay those costs still. So why not go ahead and give it to them?
Any other questions or discussion? Josue?
Just next time, I think we should have this discussion still when it's supposed to, just so that we're not in the middle of the fiscal year talking about adjustments.
Okay, so it has been motioned properly second that we give the 4% raise, the COLA raise to the Waukegan Public Library staff. All in favor, Larry?
Aye.
Josue?
Yes, people deserve a cost of living adjustment.
Jeannie?
Can you repeat what we're doing?
So there's been a motion to give a 4% COLA raise to the Waukegan Public Library staff.
For
the last 6 months of the fiscal
Thank-
year.
I say aye to that.
Okay, Brian?
Aye.
Robbie?
Aye.
Martha?
No.
Tatiana?
No.
And no for me also. It passed. We're going to be giving the staff a 4% COLA raise for the next 6 months. Okay. Thank you. Moving on to the Ray Bradbury policy number 5 discussion. And we are going to give that to John.
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Board of Trustees, for your support of our staff. They work very hard for that 2%, and I appreciate your support and guidance. In terms of the Ray Bradbury collection, we received this collection, and per the policy, we received it in 2012, and we have had, it's been a side project, but not really a priority for our organization because we are not a repository. We are not equipped to house and or display a historical collection such as this, but as has come to light, a lot of organizations in the community are, and it gives us an opportunity to be a partner with the Parks Department, district, and also the Historical Society. It gives us an opportunity to set up a loan policy that allows us to loan out to the Ray Bradbury Experience Museum or to a long-term loan to the Parks Department and Historical Society so that they can properly curate the collection and adequately protect the collection so that the public can see it and maybe touch it. I'm not sure what would be the end goal, but the first piece is this Bradbury policy, which was passed in March of 2018 prior to my arrival. And this one just recently made it back onto the library website because it was passed early in Selena's tenure here. The purpose of this policy was to protect the library's collection, and that is the Ray Bradbury collection is, and our policy itself says the Ray Bradbury collection is not a research collection, although items will be cataloged for record keeping. And we've done some curation, finding out what we have, but the big picture, and this is a huge project that we're really not equipped to handle. And I would like to see this thing this collection be useful. And again, providing the path to learning and discovery. That's our mission and vision. And I believe that it fits within our mission and vision to craft a long-term loan policy and also a memorandum of understanding that I've promised to tie by the first of the month as a draft. And then we'll bring in the November meeting to the board a long-term loan policy, a memorandum of understanding, or at least a memorandum of understanding for the November meeting, so that the board at the Parks Department and the Historical Society can continue to write grants, because grants are absolutely essential to have partners. And this gives us a good opportunity for a long-term project and a renovation of our building that is going to be supported by the people of Waukegan. And I think that we should, one, consider the Ray Bradbury collection policy as something that needs to be revised. And in the governance committee meeting in early November, I'd like to present it to the governance committee for modification. It gives us the ability to do long-term loans for the Parks Department, for example, or the Historical Society. But as you see now, as this policy stands, it's largely, it allows for things like the deselection and sale of items. And at this point, John Eller from the IUPUI Center of Ray Bradbury Studies said, please do not sell anything from this collection because it is absolutely priceless. It came from his living room. The man's desk and stuff was set up. This was his bookcases. And it is his legacy and his desire to have a library of his collection in the children's library where he grew up. I'm reading the book Something Wicked This Way Comes for our book club this month, and it's mentioned at least 30 times in the first 25 pages at the library. There's characters that go to the library, and you can just think of people going into that old Waukegan Public Library building with the glass floors and experiencing the library like Ray did. So I would like to see this continue on and the conversation and partnerships be forged from this policy. But I'd like for it to be reviewed by the governance committee prior to change for the whole board next month.
Thank you,
Thanks,
John.
John.
And I really, I'm really excited about this Ray Bradbury collection being displayed. So you're going to bring something back to us at the November meeting. The governance committee is going to be talking about it, doing the discussion. So if anyone would like to be a part of the discussion on the Ray Bradbury collection, Josue, when is the next meeting?
Let me pull up the
Wednesday,
calendar. It's the first Wednesday.
November
of the month,
4th,
November 4th.
Wednesday,
the
November
day
4th.
after the election.
Okay, so November 4th at 5:30?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so if you would like to be a part of that discussion, you know, if there's something that you really think you should, be passing on to the committee, November 4th at 5:30, they will be having another virtual meeting. Thank you, John. So with that, let's move to the trustees and their comments. Josue, you want to go first?
Yeah, I just have one comment. Thank you to the marketing staff for putting together the newsletter. I think that shows our community that the library is still open and there are still services being offered. So I'm glad that the numbers have gone up since that's been hitting mailboxes. And lastly, we need to remind people to vote November 3rd. Our community usually has low voter turnout, and so I think the library can spearhead a community effort to get people to vote.
Thank you, Josue. Okay, Larry.
The newsletter was very well done. I was pleased to get it in the mail, and so bravo to everyone who put that together. And I think it's such a valuable resource, and I'm so happy to have received it. It does very well for our library's marketing.
Cool.
So bravo.
Good. Jeannie? Oh, you're muted.
Hello? Okay, John.
Okay.
I had a couple of questions for him, and they're small. The library being open, and you had said that there are walk-ins also. I know that we had talked about last month about how people had to make appointments to get in. How is that working with walk-ins and the appointments?
So currently our limit is 25, including staff on the main floor. And the goal is if somebody has the ability or makes an appointment ahead of time for computer use or for a notary service, they can do that. But ideally, if somebody walks in our front door, we'll make an appointment for them that very moment. And so depending on the capacity, we're trying to keep the capacity down below 30 people overall, but right now we're at trying to keep and so far we haven't really hit those numbers. We were pretty busy last Thursday. Pretty busy. There were probably 20 people on the floor.
Okay, how is that going to affect the health, the part where the people can come in and talk to mental health people that Gail had talked about? How of the 25 in the walk-ins and
because of when I wrote that grant, the library actually isn't a space. And we'll be looking for November to see where we're at because we haven't opened our study rooms. So we are working with community partners that have limited space that they'll let us use for these appointments.
one last question. Who were the people that are no longer working and what positions were they in?
We no longer have one of our associates from the customer service department had several, and also a member of our safety team. Both were terminated as a result of no calls, no shows.
I'm through.
Okay, Robbie.
The only thing I'll add to Josue's comment is not just voting on November 3rd, but staying safe and also using the early voting that they have around our community to make sure we get out and vote. Thanks.
Thank you. Tatiana?
I was going to speak to the mailer, which is beautiful. Thank you very much. I thought it was really well done, easy to read, and really enjoyed it. And I will also say to Robbie and Josue that I do pickups at the library many, many times a week. And they always include slips on voting. Every single time I've gotten it, there's been handouts about voting, COVID, different things going on in the library. So they're definitely doing their job in getting the word out. So thank you. And that's all. Thank you.
Okay, Brian.
Yeah, so I wanted to compliment the staff on the themed book boxes that they have. When I first saw that posted on Facebook, I really love that idea. Like just in front of me here on my wall, I have a bunch of random comic stuff that I used to get in comic like mystery boxes or comic book mystery boxes. And so that made me think about that, just this randomly themed book box, which I think is a really cool idea. Same with the learning kits, having those available. I know like for my 3-year-old, when she was 1, I thought getting like a toddler kit was a good idea, but obviously she was too young for that. But now she's a little bit older, so I think she'd benefit from like these learning kits and things like that can really get her excited to open her own type of box or bag or something. So I love seeing that type of programming.
Thank you. And Martha?
Okay, I'm gonna put my camera on. Hey, how you doing? You see the sailor? Oh wait, I brought up from Barrington what they're doing and from other cities is that now instead of doing Zoom, they are recording different chefs from different restaurants in the city, cooking like their favorite meal or favorite and going over the ingredients, and that is promoting for people to order food from that restaurant and also for them to cook, with the COVID. And so I was thinking about something like that maybe we can add, which is not just Zoom, it's videos. To have another project or have another activity that the library can promote for the community, some cooking thing, some program.
Anything else?
Nothing else.
Oh, where you calling from, Martha?
I'm in Madeira Beach. By Clearwater, by St. Pete.
Ooh.
Robbie, did you have something you wanted to add?
I was just going to echo with Brian's thing about the learning kits. As a teacher, I've loved the kind of grab and go kits that they have of all the books. Every time I've been in the children's library section, they do a fantastic job with that. So echoing Brian on that.
Okay. Thank you all so much for the time that you've spent tonight. And with that, could we get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I second.
So Jeannie and Martha, Okay, all in favor, Larry,
Aye.
Josue,
Aye.
Jeannie,
Yes.
Brian,
Aye.
Robbie,
Aye.
Martha,
Aye.
and Tatiana.
Aye.
And I for me also.
I
So
want to, why was the correct Zoom in the calendar?
Martha, hold on a minute. We're right in the middle of a motion. So it's been properly seconded that, and we voted. Meeting has been adjourned, but Martha, you have something that you want to add?
Yes, because if I wouldn't have reached you, it turned out that the correct Zoom meeting number was on the calendar. Thanks, Miss England, because that wasn't the one that was sent out in the Zoom link.
I recommend just sending out the link every month.
It would be helpful.
Yeah, I didn't get it at all this month as well. So
So sending it via an email versus just putting it on the calendar.
Very helpful.
Yes.
Thank you, everyone. Good night.
We'll do
Nice
so.
to see
Meeting
everyone.
Night.
adjourned
Night, everybody.
at 8:15.
Night.